Eric said might have a few questions or.
Generally, how was the investigation going, Chief? Any changes?
Nothing solid. Again, a whole lot of tips, a few leads, but nothing that we can get excited over just yet. We and KSP investigators are working around the clock, literally. Not much sleep and a whole lot of Red Bull that's getting us all through it, and we're not going to rest for quite a while. So,
how's your department? How's your department personnel holding up right now?
you know, best that can be expected. Like I said, not a lot of sleep. Nobody really wants to sleep. Nobody wants to go home. Everybody wants to stay here, and most of us are. Everybody just wants to be a part of whatever it is we need to do to capture these folks, or just help out his family. But yet we still have our job to do. We're still making runs and calls for service from our community. So our folks are doing a wonderful job of balancing sadness, emotions, anger, but yet the professionalism that every one of them have to. We still have a community to respond to, and we're doing that the best we can.
How tough is that? On top of everything, you don't know if Officer Ellis was targeted or it was just a random thing that they were going after police officers. How do you guys deal with that every day, making runs, having that in the back of your mind?
Well, you know, a lot of the calls that we make are very high risk, but after this happened, you know, I ask our folks to be a little bit more vigilant, because we don't know, and at this point, you know, as I said yesterday, the old sixth sense of a cop, your gut feeling, you know, that he was the target. You know, and I've asked our folks, don't get your guard down. Don't let the emotions take over, so we don't have anyone else hurt. So that's the hardest part, staying focused sometimes.
How big is your department? How many uniform officers? How many?
We're authorized at 27. We're down a couple at this point.
A couple, two? Or?
2 down, yes.
I noticed the sign in the front about taking applications. Have you had a lot of people coming in wanting to join the department?
Yeah, prior to this, that sign's been up there a while. Being a small agency, unfortunately, we don't have a great deal of turnover, but we have a lot of people that apply that want to be police officers. So we had to hang that up because a lot of applications were rolling in, and you know, we have a position that we needed to fill. Sadly, we now have another position that we have to fill. So you know, that process will start in due time.
What about the reward? You guys have had quite a bit of money coming in. What does that mean to you that people are putting that up?
I think that says more than I could say. I'm sure you've probably heard, we've had calls from California. A gentleman watching CNN, it angered him. He called and said, "Where do I send a check?" He probably didn't know where Kentucky was, much less did he know Bardstown, Kentucky. But you know, that right there just solidifies that there are so many more good people than bad, but yet we obviously only hear about the bad. You know, and a lot of people are donating, and they're being specific. We want this to go to the family. We have a few that hand us a check and say we want this to go to the reward to catch, and throw a few superlatives in there, and we're obviously honoring whatever fund you know, the donor wants them to go. The Fraternal Order of Police here in Bardstown, Nelson County is as we speak, literally, he's setting up 2 accounts here at a local bank. One will be for the Jason Ellis Memorial Fund that will go to his family to help Amy and the boys. And the other one will be the Jason Ellis Reward Fund. And that will be available soon. We'll send out information because, as I mentioned, we've had a lot of calls from out of state with people wanting to know where they can send it and where it is. So there it is, Wilson Muir Bank here in Bardstown.
Chief, we got an email yesterday from the department saying that other website was not authorized. Is there any update? I mean, is that legitimate? It just hadn't been communication, or?
Right, we're still trying to make contact, and we're trying to make it, we want to make sure it's legit.
Yeah.
And our fear is that we've not been contacted, and we've requested them to contact us. It very well may be, we don't know.
Sure.
But our suspicion is there, and you know how these things go. Every time something tragic, people, the leeches of society do this, and if it's legit, I think it's wonderful. But if it's not, then we want it stopped, and we will take legal action to do that if we find that it isn't.
Any idea what the board is up to at this point?
I don't. I can safely say it's well over 10,000 now.
What did it start
But
at?
it started immediately at 6. But we have not done the count from the last 2 days that we're putting together to take to the bank. So we hopefully by this afternoon we'll know a definitive answer to that.
Chief, you said you still have a community to serve when you answered one of my questions. What was your reaction to seeing the community respond last night visually?
I guess a part of me was surprised, but then again, the other half wasn't, because this is Bardstown. It's a great community. I've learned I'm a brought-in, as they call it here. I'm not a native of Bardstown. I'm a brought in as a chief, brought into the agency. But what I've learned living here, this is a wonderful community. And what happened last night, for instance, we didn't organize that candlelight vigil. Members of the community came to us and said, "Do you mind if we do this?" Well, of course not. So that just speaks volumes, again, that there are so many good people, so many supportive people of the law enforcement family, people that just simply do the right thing. And this has struck a lot of people. A lot of people have stopped me and just said, we understand your job's dangerous, and police are killed every day somewhere, but I think the fashion and the manner this one was done has angered even those that may not even know a cop. And we're hoping that anger will mirror ours and help us get it solved.
Is that Officer Ellis's cruiser out there? Is that somebody?
No, sir. That's actually a pool car that we pulled in to use his vehicle. As you see, some of our cars are different. We went to the black and white design recently, and his SUV was actually in the paint shop getting striped to the new black and white. And we will have it set up at the visitation and at the funeral.
Is that why his dog wasn't with him that night?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, he used a pool car that night and decided, he has taken the dog before in a car, but that night he had just decided not to. And
Because of that is
yeah, it's,
regular cars.
right, and you got to think of, I guess, the dog's comfort, cramming him in that back seat sometimes. So he left Figo at home that night.
What's the dog's name?
Figo, F-I-G-O.
V-I-G-O?
Yeah. And I might be pronouncing it right. It might be Figo.
What's the name of the bank? People can donate.
Wilson Muir.
How do you spell Muir?
Of course, Wilson's common, M-U-I-R.
Thank you.
Wilson Muir Bank.
Chief, is that what he ordinarily would have done, would have been to leave his SUV here and go home in a pool car about the same time every night?
No, he drives his SUV,
Most of the time?
yeah, so all the time, unless it's, of course, shopped, and any of our officers, if we shop our vehicle, or then we can use a pool car. But no, his
Do you know
normal,
why he did that night?
I'm sorry,
Do you know why he did that night, took a different car?
it was in the shop. His SUV was in the shop.
For those out there who do know something, after seeing Amy, and it's going to be on every news channel in the area, what would you say to them?
You know, do the right thing. You can hate me for being a cop. You can not believe in what I stand for, just like I can believe in I'm against what a criminal may do. But when you make it personal like that, you affect an entire family. You just don't get revenge on the police officer. You crush an entire family. And we hope that someone will certainly have the compassion to understand that, paybacks are one thing, hating a cop is one thing, but what happened here is way over the line.
What makes you think this was a personal revenge type crime, like you said?
Well, I mean, we have to go on the fact just with what the evidence that KSP has released, and that the way it was set up. We have to assume that was the case, that it was against Officer Ellis.
I'm sorry if this has been asked before. Can you describe debris? What does that mean?
I'm not, because it's a part of the case, and KSP has asked me to withhold that at this point. So, without jeopardizing their case, I certainly would rather not at this time.
And was that his typical route home?
Yes, sir.
And was he wearing a bulletproof vest at the time?
He was. Yes.
He was, I'm sorry.
Yes, he was wearing his bulletproof vest.
How long was he with the force here?
7 years. Matter of fact, what is today's date? What?
Today is
27?
27.
28.
28th, May 30th, 7 years ago is when he started. So,
You kind of touched on this possibility Sunday, that there might be officers from other departments here. Do you know if that's going to happen so that more of your people can go to the funeral service?
oh, there's going to be a lot of officers here Thursday. Yes, KSP has been here since it occurred, and troopers will be riding the city, answering our calls for service, and the county, actually, because the sheriff and the sheriff's deputies will be a part of us. We're all in this together, and they will be right there with us. So Thursday will be, the entire county will be covered by KSP.
Chief, the folks in the community obviously came together and came out with that great showing last night. Have they expressed to you the confidence that they understand that they still have a very low crime community, and that this was just a horrible, isolated incident?
They do, and that's what angers them the most. That yeah, it's Bardstown. We've got the same problems. When I policed in Louisville, we had the same problems there we have here, a much smaller scale. Here we have more crimes against property, not crimes against person. And of the two in law enforcement, that's the lesser of two evils is obviously I'd rather you steal from me than shoot me. So we don't have a lot of violence in this community. And that's what's angered them the most. That it's a lot of them have said, this is Bardstown, but we also tried to relay that it's a different world nowadays, and Bardstown today, unfortunately, is not the Bardstown of 30 years ago. And that's what I think's really brought the community out. That it's gone to that level.
Have you ever had any close calls before, life-threatening situations before acts of violence perpetrated against him?
Had he?
Had he personally?
Not to that level. I mean, many fights, foot chases, car chases, the typical day at the office for a cop. Nothing to that fashion. We all get the threats from the drunk. I'm going to kill you, take your bag, all that stuff. But that's part of it as well. But nothing that, nothing ever to this level of a threat.
Nothing in this past would indicate, not a single culprit that he would have arrested or anybody in his past that would point to somebody would want to do something like this.
No one specific, and what I mean by that is Jason was extremely active. As Amy was telling you, he was one of our top cops when it came to activity, arrests. The dent that he made locally in our drug problem, I think the community might even underestimate what he did locally for our drug problem. So in other words, there's not any one person right now that we can, because there are so many that he arrested, from different parts of town, from different areas, different, groups of folks. So it's really hard, and every one of them are being viewed with a microscope at this time. Nothing is ruled out.
Based on the nature of this, what does that tell you about the suspect? What kind of, you've been in law enforcement a very long time. I'm sure you can start to piece together what kind of person or persons we're dealing with here.
Right.
This was a calculated, cold thing.
It was. Obviously the first thing that pops up is a coward, because you had to hide and do that. You couldn't go face to face with me. A true coward would do what has happened. But yet, a dangerous person. Obviously, to do that, they have no second thought to it. If it was that easy for them, what else will they do? So we obviously, as more info and evidence is developed, we certainly will treat that person as the armed and dangerous person that they are. So,
Chief, how long have you been a chief here, and how long have you been a police officer?
I've been a police officer for 25 years, and I've been chief here too.
And in your 25 years, have you had to deal with anything of this caliber?
No, I've been around law enforcement deaths before. I was with Louisville and the federal U.S. Marshal's office for a while. So yes, I've been to a lot of police funerals. I've been unfortunately there when some police officers in Louisville were killed. But my role now as chief, it's it's like I guess compare it to perhaps a military commander. It's like one of your soldiers go down. That's the worst day of your life, and no chief, no sheriff ever wants to go through that. So it's all new ground. I'm not going to lie. As chief, it's all new ground for me, because I'm on this side of it now, not this side of it, and it's a learning experience. But I'm trying to take what I knew from the unfortunate events in my law enforcement career and do what's right here, do what we need to do.
While reviewing some of the people Officer Ellis arrested, what would stand out?
I'm sorry, say it again, let me make sure.
You said we're going to be looking at all the people he's arrested under a microscope. What would stand out?
I don't know if any one thing would stand out, but KSP investigators are going over everything. Just, any consistencies, anything that you see a few times, several times, anything that might send up a red flag. So there's really nothing that we can say we're looking for one specific issue, but a common denominator. That's kind of what we're doing by that. That's what I mean by that.
Had he received any threats or any anonymous threats or anything?
No, sir.
His K-9 officer, right? Do you have? Is another officer going to pick up with FIGO? Do you plan to continue that? Because Officer Ellis was the only one, right?
He was our only canine officer. The sheriff's office here has a canine officer. But we certainly will, we will have a canine. It is too, it's such an asset to any police department to have a good dog. And in time, we certainly will open it up to some of our current officers that may want to become a canine officer. With Vigo, my plan is to actually retire him. You know, he lost his partner, and you know, you can't always just put a dog with a cop. You know, they have a bond. So we will we'll be retiring him in due time as well. And
how old is he?
I believe he's 7.
And that's about, I mean, he's been doing, I mean, is 7 a normal age? Or?
Well, he's probably got a few good years left in him, but you know, he's close. You know, he's definitely he's had a great career, put it that way. So if we retire him, he'll.
What breed is he?
Yeah, it's like a German Shepherd, but it seemed like he had a little something else in him when you look at him, but German Shepherd for the most part.
And you said that he was one of the most active officers on the police force in terms of arrests. I mean, can you say, would it be dozens per month, or since you're going to be, everybody's going to be scrutinized who was arrested by him, I mean, how many folks are going to be scrutinized? I mean, how active was he?
I don't think a dozen a month would be out of order. Certainly, I would know more than that. I wouldn't think. You know, it's there. In other words, the drug activity is there. You know, as a police officer, if you want to find it, it's out there, unfortunately. And he was one that, you know, he wanted to arrest those that had drugs, especially those that were dealing drugs. That was his focus. And with his canine partner, that's what that dog Vigo was trained for, was drugs.
And I guess there could be a break at any time, but are you kind of resigned to maybe this could be a long, drawn-out investigation, or?
Yeah, we are. And you know, and I say that because I want it done correctly. And I know it will be, but you know, if it takes us 6 months, I want it done right. Because I want people in prison that did this. I don't want any stupid technicality that defense attorneys can come up with. I want a good, solid case that puts people away for life or the death penalty.
Chief, I know the Bluegrass Parkway is not all in your jurisdiction, but I'm sure you're in the know if there's been other incidents in the past where cars have been shot at in any form or fashion. Maybe not to this where somebody has died and not caught the media's attention, but have you heard of any incidents like that?
No, sir. None that I'm aware of.
Right. Okay.
And again, you know, again, most of it, all of it, of course, in under the sheriff's office.
Right.
We've just got a mile or two of it that actually nudges the city limits out there.
And you're urging your officers to be more vigilant, but are you taking any other precautions in terms of having officers go in tandem to do anything?
Yes,
or any
yes.
other precautions that you're taking?
Yeah, most of the calls that police make are 2-officer response anyway. But for now, I've asked our dispatch center to make sure that 2 officers go on every call. And you know, I didn't even have to say that because our officers are 3-4 deep on every call, even if it's just riding by or in the area.
And even in the middle of the night?
Absolutely, absolutely.